This is the August 20th update for my garden, and pretty soon I might have to go on a hiatus due to the start of the next semester in school. A few days ago I ended up hand pollinating another Montana jackfruit for the pumpkin. What happened was the plants seemed to have aborted the fruit randomly. Here's where the previous one was. Don't know how that happened, but I'm guessing the plant rotted and didn't get fully pollinated. At this point in the year, I'm getting severe powdery mildew on the Montana jack pumpkin, and a lot of the remaining mandan squash plants aren't producing any female flowers. At least I got 2 fruits on the plant, that one vine. And if you look closely, you can see more of the powdery mildew speckling. Hopefully, after I can put some treatment on the plants. Maybe that hopefully reduces the spread of the disease. But at this time of the year, it's going to be hard. One thing I didn't mention, here is the corn finally producing the male pollen tassels and female silk, and under it is the Cherokee Cornfield beans producing flowers. I'll show you in a few minutes. There is something quite exciting about these beans. Now let's move on to the next bed. What I was going to mention that's exciting is, if you look closely here, these are the Cherokee Cornfield beans, and they're finally producing pods. Now I'm going to let these dry up and fully mature as shell beans this year, because I'm trying to save seeds for them. So that's good news. The plants are fruiting on schedule. And these are the beans that are underneath the sunflowers. Thankfully they haven't smothered the sunflowers yet. But also pretty cool are the sunflowers continuing to bloom. And again, these aren't my sunflowers. Sorry for the glare. These are my neighbor sunflowers. So next year I'm going to try planting a taller bean underneath these sunflowers and see if it reaches higher up the stalk. So, as I mentioned, I am happy with these Cherokee pole beans right now. Let's go on to the other corn, Three Sisters bed. Here's the Kusa Squash that was ripening. The rind is finally starting to get hard, but it still hasn't been even a month yet, so I don't want to harvest it for a seed yet. I'm gonna wait for the squash as long as possible. A lot of the vines here for the Kusa are starting to decline. Nevertheless, I don't see any signs of mildew on these plants. I do see some leaves yellowing though. There's some silvering on this, but that's not mildew, that's something else. And I apologize if you hear any barking in the background. My neighbor is watching a dog for someone. Here are the yellow squash, unfortunately still not producing female flowers. Only this one right here shows any promise. It is not fully vining, but I could cross it with some of the other plants. Hopefully I can get some seed from it. Anyway, it's getting to the point now where it's very difficult for me to trim out the squash, so I'm just letting them fill out the rest of the bed for the end of the growing season. And right here is the other bed of the corn, finally setting out male pollen tassels and female silk. And what I find interesting, a lot of the Cherokee beans are recovering. I don't know if pouring urine on the plants did any good, along with some of the compost, but I'm guessing it may have. And anyway, let's move on to the other bed now. Here are the other beans, And based on the shape of these beans, I'm assuming these are not fava beans. These are either cowpeas or mung beans. Because fava beans have much thicker pods than this. Now it's getting to the point now where the beans are starting to climb up the trellis and crowd out the one tomato plant I had transplanted earlier in the season. Hopefully it doesn't completely crowd out the plant and I can still get some tomatoes from this plant. And thankfully a lot of the damage from bean beetles early in the year is starting to no longer be noticeable, and the plants are catching up. And nevertheless, there is this pepper here that looks pathetic, other than the few fruits from it. At least I can get some chili powder from it. Not too bad. Pulling up the mustard here and planting some lettuce. Hopefully I didn't cause any problems by tilling the soil. This is my first crop of autumn lettuce. I don't know what to expect really, because weather in fall is very unpredictable here in Ohio. It could be really hot September one year, and you can get a cool September next year. It really just goes straight from hot to cold during the late fall. There's no in between. And here's that one lamb's quarter plant I showed last week. Still no signs of any pollen tassels or any flowers. I'm hoping it still flowers by the end of the year and I can get some seeds from it. Let's go to the other side. The later mustard plants I planted on the 20th of July. It's been about a month now, and thankfully, well, I don't know if putting diluted urine helped, but these plants are doing a lot better than the previous harvest I got. They actually are producing leaves without bolting straight to seed. So hopefully I can actually get some more greens from these than the other previous harvest. Sunflower plant that I planted a while back in the year. Finally getting some sprouts that are finally coming up from it. I still don't see any flowers yet. Don't know if I'll get any seed from it. And along with that lone amaranth plant here and here. The lamb's quarters and amaranth have been a disappointment this year, probably due to the soil not being as fertile as my normal garden soil. I'm gonna have to keep amending the soil and hopefully get better results next year. Let's move on to the next bed. Carrots. The crop I planted in August 1st is finally sprouting. In about a week's time, because I'm starting to see true leaves, I'm going to have to start thinning out these carrots and putting some more mulch down. Thankfully now, the early scarlet horn plants are catching up with the purple carrots. Right here are the early scarlet horns. So that's good news. Just as long as they mature fast enough that I can overwinter some roots this year to get seed from them. Because this is a rare variety. I think I remember reading it was one of the first red carrot, one of the first orange carrot varieties to be cultivated and developed. In the asparagus bed nearby, I planted some mustard and some arugula and wild radishes. Now, the thing about wild radishes is they don't really develop a bulbous root like regular radishes. They are mostly harvested for their greens, their flower buds, and their seed pods. Their root is too woody really to use for food, unless you peel the root before eating it. But that's often usually too much work for it to be much food value. Hoping I can get some actual greens from these this year. I planted some fall crops now because it's starting to get cool. Still not cool enough to plant spinach. I have to wait until late September before I plant any spinach here. Based on my past experience, it really doesn't cool down until the end of September here in Ohio. So this is all the last area of the garden. If you like any of my videos, I guess you can subscribe. I am not really doing a good job editing anyway. Hopefully, as I mentioned, the quality might improve as I go on in the years. And thanks for watching. Goodbye.